then engage it and push the weight back up.
When you mean deload,
So, okay, jump out, I'll show you. So, if I'm bringing the weight down through the bar, my objective is to extend as much as I can, to stretch the chest as much as I can. If I pull out and tuck, my shoulders are going to keep forward and it's going to spring out of my chest. So when you raw, you have no spring out of the bench over the bottom. Bench and raw, you're more trying to focus on just tension through your grip and tension through your triceps and your chest. If you're trying to pull out and engage your lats, roll the elbows under, you're going to lose that tension and press the weight back up. That's a lot of mistakes. So when you see it online, they don't distinguish between raw and equipped. They'll just say, okay, when bench pressing heavy, especially from West Side, the objective is to pull the bar apart and tuck your elbows. But when you're bench pressing raw, if you watch guys like CT Fletcher or Eric Spotto, also the biggest bencher at the moment, there's no elbow tuck, there's no pulling the bar apart. He emphasises that a lot when he says he's benching. Because never say you pull the bar apart, he says if anything, I pull it in to contract the chest on the way down. So if any of you guys are doing those sort of things at the moment, if you're trying to bench raw, you're actually going to be making it a little bit harder for yourself to push that weight back up.
Oh, that's where we're at. Wow.
Yeah. So pull the bar apart. Yeah, everyone, when you go to gyms, everyone usually says pull the bar apart. I hear it all the time. Yeah. Well, when you're trying to bench heavy, pull the bar apart, pull the bar apart. It's going to engage your chest. Because obviously what does your chest do? Your chest contracts in. Yeah? If you're there now, put your arms up. Arms up. If you want to tense your chest, you've got to pull in, right? You pull out, switches it off. And when we're doing a raw bench, what are we using the most to push the weight back up? Your chest. That's the strongest muscle available too.
That question there, I'm tracking in off because you're supposed to be trying to engage the lats, obviously.
Yep.
So when I'm just putting it out there, I seem to feel a lot more.
So that's what we'll go through too. The second thing, the realization of so pulling out, obviously, is what tucks your scapula in tight, right? But if you're raw bench, you already have your traps pinned on the bench. So if you're doing your setup, you're already going to have your trap pinned on the bench. Therefore, you already have your lats flexed. And you don't have trouble actually flexing your lats. That just means you do more activation exercises, pull downs, chins, one arm rows to make sure your lower lats are flexed. So when you bring the bar down with your bench, if you're trying to pull the bar out and flex your lats at the same time, you're not thinking about getting that tension through your chest at the same time. So you've got to make sure your lats are already engaged and you can bring your arms just straight down into it. So that's more of an accessory work. It needs to come up if you're not feeling your lats while you're bench pressing. Like postural things, if someone's standing there, you can see their posture a little bit kicked forward, their lower lats aren't strong enough. That needs to be fixed more through their accessory training. Bring the lower lats up. So that's probably the biggest mistake people make. Is the pulling it out and they're trying to tuck under the weight. Like if we would jump on YouTube now and look at some of the biggest benches in the world, they're all pretty much straight down. There's not much elbows going under. Eric Spotto's bench, if you guys see his recent one, more or less from there, his bar pretty much comes straight down with his chest. So his elbows are neutral all the way through the also, the grip, the width of the press, that varies person to person depending on how you mechanically put together, like where you're going to grab it, which angles you're going to try and utilise the best. Width of bench, especially when you're new to the bench, if you go too wide, you're pretty much shooting yourself in the foot in how much you can progress on the bench. Because the wider you go, the less muscle tissue you can activate. So if you're trying to do it in training, you're working in the gym, you're trying to build up your strength and your size to bench more weight. If you're always pressing really wide, you're not going to be able to build as much muscle through your chest and your triceps to later on push more weight as well. So make sure in your training you're doing some close grip work. If you're benching comp and that's wide, that's fine, you can practice for that as well, but make sure you're doing a lot of close grip work in the gym. That's going to use a lot more of your chest, a lot more of your triceps. Anyone bench narrow, real narrow at the moment, same as me, comp? Thierry probably does, inside this ring. Jump in here, go cool with Thierry.
Yeah, I noticed that when you bench, you're not even touching the ring.
Yeah, well inside the ring.
Yeah, well inside. It's very
especially for my height. You know, the big guys, the 6'2" guys, they bench on the ring.
Yeah.
Which for them, that's still quite narrow. So they've got quite a long arm.
Yeah, the wingspan. Yeah.
Take it out from there. Good.
What about if you're 6'4", 6'4" guy with
long arms? Really long arms, so they're still benching for them. Being inside that ring is still narrow for them. Bring the bar down. Okay. So from there, you push back up. So you want to make sure your forearm is a straight line as you bring it. So you watch his forearm, bring the bar down again. So you can probably bring that in another centimetre. Break that back up. Bring that back in another centimetre. Okay. Down from there. As you can see now he's loading up his triceps a lot more and he's going to have to squeeze his chest a lot harder to push the way back up too. So in terms of a training rule, benching this way is going to help you build a lot more muscle and build your strength a lot more. And then if you come to a competition, you're trying to get on weight, by sticking down another centimetre, it can give you a mechanical advantage. Possibly try and push out more weight.
Just looking at the bar path there, it's actually straight up, it's not
Another shirt and misconception, because that's how the shirt kicks.
Yeah.
When you guys don't much bench strength, there's heaps of guys that lift in shirts in my gym, equipped work.
Yeah.
And that's how you sort of try and sit into the groove of the shirt,
Yeah.
by tucking it, bringing it down, and then when it comes up, 'cause it doesn't kick it out straight, it'll throw the weight up and back, and then to lock it out, because obviously the weight's 20% over your maximum rep raw, you're trying to roll your elbows to finish the bench. Yeah, another thing, you've probably heard that too with lockouts.
Yeah, lockouts.
Roll, people say roll your elbows out to lock your bench.
But how does that come into, I know I'm jumping ahead, how does it come into when you're actually doing leg drive? Because leg drive is actually pulling you back. So basically the bar should be following.
So you're following that leg drive, but the trouble is if you start to push it back up and over your head to finish,
Yeah.
you're going to disengage the ability to lock out in a tricep, which is obviously a lot stronger when you're talking about roll. So you can't do that roll when we're benching raw. When you're in a shirt, you can get that angle, get up over your head, because you've got the sleeves that are pulling on the outside of the tricep, and you can try and squeeze your elbows in to lock it out to finish. Yeah, and that's where that technique comes from. When you're raw, you have to pretty much press it out the inner tricep all the way through to the top. So if you try and I've made that mistake in the past too, trying to bench 200, trying to bench 205, and getting stuck right at the very top.
Yeah.
I was trying to roll my elbows, but I couldn't get that movement, because it's a misconception of bench. You have to keep pushing it through the pec and the tri. No one muscle can finish off your bench at the top, especially when you're benching raw. You've got to keep the tension through the chest, especially if you like second leg drive, keep pinning your traps in.
Yeah.
As soon as you let that roll happen, you get stuck at the top because you're disengaging all the other muscles.
Yeah, so you got a lot of guys coming up and then they start flaring out. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
That's the roll. Is that what you thought?
Yeah, so flaring at the very end of your bench, so some people will work for a little bit mechanically, especially if they've got a very wide grip, they're very long, a little bit of roll at the top, but definitely not the same emphasis as when you're benching with a suit.
You see one or two guys in roll, it's a fair bit like, and they go up and it just seems to do better when they roll.
When they roll,
They have a longer
longer arm split, so
Longer arm
sometimes you can tweak that technique a little bit, but especially in terms of when you're doing your maximal weight, you've got to remember certain things you get away with up to 90%, and then when you're talking about your max 100% weight, to get your muscles to function at 100% capacity, if you're switching off, rolling a little bit, that could cost you that last 5 kilos that you're putting on the bar. Might work up to 90%, like I was saying with the wide grip, loading up, pulling the bar apart, that might feel fine all the way up to 90%. And then you go into competition, you're going for 100% max, you're pulling the bar apart, you're trying to tuck your elbows, and you go for your big weight, you come down to your bottom, you've probably seen it heaps of times. They will bring the weight down and they can't even move it all of a sudden. And it's only been a 5 kilo increase or a 10 kilo increase. Rather than giving themselves a fair chance of getting it by keeping attention and trying to push it all the way through. That's one thing my boss is also Balcus always says is the sign of a good lifter is someone who misses their weight just. Yeah? Rather than see someone fail in a competition, they fail it. And they totally miss the lift. Yeah? If you go up 5 or 10 kilos above your max and you just miss it, that shows that you have strength through the whole movement. And you're using all your muscles appropriately. If you say if I bench 190 and that came up, no problem, that's fine. Then I went for 200, I brought it down, I tucked and I couldn't budge it. Yeah? That'd be a sign that I'm not loading up my muscles 100% lift. Technique failed. Rather, if I came down for 200, I pushed it up and I sort of couldn't lock it out at the top and I struggled, but I could still kind of lift it. That shows that my strength, I'm using all the muscles available to on that lift. So if you notice that in your training, if you're missing weights, say in your set, you've done 5 or 6 reps, then your 7th one, you completely miss it, it means the muscles aren't switched on 100%. Which obviously comes from someone pulling out and tucking, those sort of habits. Cool. Any questions further on that, in terms of like grip tension, pulling out the bar?
The rest, a lot of the guys who benchers get heavier, they'll see, we know that we grip the bar so you can get, obviously, what's your thoughts on the getting under the bar?
The dead straight through the wrist. Also grip tension, probably, you've always heard it, sounds like that. You'd rather be squeezing, like for me, if I'm benching, so I usually start about 180, 185, bench press I've got in, and that feels the same as if I'm going 200, 205. So I'm squeezing the bar that hard, I can't really feel the difference in the weight, other than trying to push back up. And in terms of the weight feel in the hands, it's all identical. You're trying to get enough tension through your palm, and that'll help everything stay tight as well.
But the guys who are wide sometimes has a bit of a what's it called?
Wrist coming off angle or rolling angle.
What's your thoughts on
So that might be more of an accessory work that needs to come up. I'd say well, the best thing in terms of wrist control, getting stronger through your wrist, is the bottoms up kettlebell press.
Yeah, because they're so wide, does it mean that there is a
Yeah,
lot?
but it shouldn't be. They should still have, if they want to press clean out of the tricep, they have to keep the angle with their wrist fixed. No matter how wide you go, You have to keep that angle the same. If you cock your wrist in, when you go to push, that lever, all the weight is pushing out to this side of the wrist. Yeah, so you're losing 10-20% on that shearing force out on the side of the wrist there. So you've got to still try and keep your grip firm enough that your wrist can still push the weight in a straight line. Any sort of outward wasted force, obviously, you want all your force to be 100% going up. So the best fix for that, especially if someone's very weak in their wrists, they have a lot of trouble keeping their wrist strong on the weight, is do a lot of bottoms up press with the kettlebell. Face straight at your head. Yeah? You do that pretty much every day until that builds up in strength in your wrist. You should be able to do that.
Just standing?
Yeah, just standing completely. So not trying to twist, not trying to hitch it up like we're doing a strongman or anything. Just strict wrist and strictly pushing it up overhead. If you can build that up, you're going to feel a lot more confident on your bench.
So obviously, the fat bars, the fat grips and stuff, does that?
That's the fat enough grip on the kettlebell, so that's going to be fine for that. You can do some fat grip work in terms of your arm training on top of that to increase your forearm strength.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend fat grip work on tricep work. Because obviously fat grip work on tricep will stop you from being able to switch on through your tricep and get the right movement. But for curls, that's fine. That's going to help strengthen up your forearm, your wrist, your brachioradialis, which is very important for your max bench as well. That's another thing we'll talk about is anyone feel like they have a bit of shape or a bit of instability when they bring the weight down? You guys would see that before? That's usually caused by brachioradialis. And if you've never trained it, it's going to shake like crazy if you try and bench. Yeah? That's a bodybuilding thing. A lot of people obviously look over a lot in terms of the power thing because that's a bodybuilding movie. And then you're not going to really do it. So if your bar's shaking or you're feeling unstable trying to bring it down, it's probably because your brachioradialis is not holding tight below, which is what stabilizes your forearm.
Just one of your triceps?
Sorry?
Just one of your triceps?
It's in between your bicep and your triceps. So you've got 2 heads of your bis, 3 heads of your triceps, you've got brachioradialis that inserts from the side deltoid all the way down through to your forearm.
What's a delta?
And to train it, you've got to find a pretty funny angle. So if you guys got a dumbbell, I'll show you what it looks like for a start curl.
Yeah, just over there.
It's not 50 kilos. It's like
I've seen a tiny one. Buy some little kettlebells for your kids.
I'll buy a little pink one.
Buy pink one.
Yuri was saying he wanted to paint some kettlebells skin color and draw like hair on them.
They're like,
So we're going to add that into any sort of bench press thing you guys have on the wall. It's going to make a huge difference, especially for those people that do have a lot of instability on their bench. It'll make a big difference. So, and you can start in front of your body like this. Rather than doing a hammer, which uses your brachioradialis in your forearm, we're trying to work the top of the bi. So we're trying to bring the weight up and across the body to the opposite side of the chin. Okay, so we're doing it across the body. So you feel pretty straight. So you want to cheat, you want to try and lift it, or you want to try and like twist it. That's the more you're going to try and keep it on that angle, and bring it up and to the outside of the chin. Punching yourself.
That's what I've been going. I'm getting the guys to do hammer curls. It's like,
That'll help the surface. It'll make the forearm stronger, it'll make the biceps stronger, but it won't hit that.
one day it's the next day it's hammer curls, but I haven't been
On that side angle there. And that'll help you feel a lot more confident under your bar, because that's what stabilises your elbow.
This seems to bodybuilding.
It's a little bodybuilding trick. But another thing we'll notice if you look at all some of the big benches, even girls, is the muscle tissue they'll have through their arms. So obviously to have a big bench, you have to do a lot of arm training. So we see a lot of powerlifters go, I want to get a big bench, I'm going to do some chest work, make sure my traps are really strong. But your arms are still doing 30% of your lift. So you have to do a decent amount of hard, precision arm training. That's why you look at some of the biggest benches, they've got 22, 23 inch arms. And also, in terms of bodybuilders, I know when you guys follow March in terms of bodybuilders, some of the biggest benches in the world, they don't go in competitions, but they are actually professional bodybuilders. I know you've heard of Kai Green, he's second in the world at the moment.
Yep.
He does reps on 240 kilo bench. So if he trained up and tried to do a single, he'd be in the high 200s as well, for his body, which would be nearly a world record for his body. He's doing a full set of reps at 240 kilo bench. And that's with wrist straight, no wrist straps on, no belt, strict bodybuilding fork down. So obviously, that arm training, shoulder training he's doing is benefiting his maximum strength for his bench press.
So for females, more upper body, because generally we know that they're more weaker genetically.
A lot of inner tricep. So we'll go through a couple of inner tricep exercises that will help a lot, like JM press. I don't know if you guys do much JM press. It's like a heavy version of a skull crusher. So we'll go through that now. Got that bicep exercise which you want you guys down. Skull crushes. That's just straight down, straight up. A heavier version, we're trying to keep the same movement, elbows in on it. We're trying to bring the bar down towards the chin. Your tricep.
Teeth crusher.
Teeth crusher. That's the word. And that way we're keeping muscle above the tricep. So keep it in tight, make sure we're not rolling or flaring, and pushing straight through. That helps a lot with guys as well, but you probably get a decent benefit out of skull crush. For girls, that helps a lot with their bench. I've noticed it brings it up a lot more because they're used to, when they push, used to bring a lot more chest, a lot more shoulder into it. The tricep, inner tricep's not going to be a very strong part, especially for females when they're trying to learn how to bench their stuff. Guys, usually the skull crusher and the push down are your two best to build that muscle tissue. But every time I sort of put that into a female's program and their training, they've usually felt a lot stronger when they go back to just pressing it up.
Cables or that?
Straight bar or easy bar?
Straight bar push down,
Straight bar.
yep, especially for hypertrophy. Whenever you finish your chest workouts, so chest and trials, whenever you're doing bench workout, try and always finish with doing 3 sets of 20 of that.
Yeah.
That just gets the blood through the muscle. You probably already doing something similar to that. Gets the blood through the muscle, way to finish, and way to try and build that area up. Like we were saying before, big arms help push big weight. You're going to have the muscle there so you can get strong.
Yeah, you look at quality wear, you know.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
I saw it at the
Tricep,
airport,
shoulder
everyone was just
development.
staring at her, her triceps and shoulders just hanging out there.
That's it.
And she's only
those
like
accessory work.
48 kilos or something.
And she does a lot of bodybuilding, a lot of hypertrophy.
Carly
Cara
Williams.
was 52
She's
and
50
your
or is
lady's
the daughter?
46.
Her daughter's
But your lady has like a 10-kilo difference with her mum's bench.
her daughter's
So not
lighter.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your lady's like 46.
Yeah, 48.
Something.
They're both very strong.
They're both very strong. I've competed with them a couple times with the capo comps. Yeah, they're really. And the way they train too, because I've spoken about how they work out, the way they train too is a lot more similar to mine, a lot more reps, a lot more accessory work, and not concentrating too much. Even though they look equipped, they concentrate a lot more on their repetition.
Oh, they're always not bad either.
Yeah, so very good lifters indeed. So we'll try and add that in, I would say. I do J and press probably every third or fourth week myself, but for any females who are trying to improve their bench, probably do it every session if you can. After you've done your barbell bench, do your J and press. It's probably more important than doing it again.
After every bench session?
Yeah. JM, press. More commonly known as what a teeth.
The tick
Teeth
one I
crusher.
can tell very
My
well.
reps versus work rate.
Can't wait to call someone Bleeding Gums Murphy.
So, too much work over 90%, you probably all heard of with programming anyway. Especially with bench, if you bench over your 90% too often, it's going to make your bench press different. It's going to fatigue your nervous system, then when you come back to it next week, you're going to find out that your fast twitch is still strong when it comes, especially if you bench it every single week. You've got to try and make sure you're only really maxing out your bench every maybe third or fourth week when you're going over 90% of your bench. It's fun to come into bench and say I'm going to bench as much as I can, try and get a PB today. Doing that all the time, from what I've seen from training people as well, is they usually end up going backwards or they end up missing a lot of benches in comps too. They're just simply overloaded on that maximum bench. Think about psychological too, confidence booster. If you're missing weights a lot, you get used to missing weights. Yeah. You learn bad habits of missing safely too, which is another thing we talk about. Is the worst way to go into a bench is thinking about how you might miss it, or think about whether you'll tear your pec because you're going to miss that bench. And if you're used to missing benches all the time, it's probably heard heaps of to say, you're going to be more likely to miss it in comp. You're not going to go for it 100%. So I'd say in training, especially in here, in your training facility, you don't want to miss any benches really. If you're ever having to have someone help pull it off you, or you're completely missing out on a bench, that's not good training. Yeah. It's okay if you miss, like failing your 10th rep and you're grinding up that, but definitely like where you're in 1 or 2 reps. I'll try my best to keep, your percentage, keep it around 90% as the maximum, working towards that for reps, and not going over that because
So
you're
how
going
far
to
do
get
you
bad
guys
habits.
are backwards then? If it's, say, would you work back from 80 to 82 and a half, kind of work back to 90 then?
Reps around the 80% mark, because that's giving you your 50% reps.
Yeah.
And then doing your 90% work for your top end. If you can push up your 90%, your 100%, you're pushing up your 100%. If you can bench more for a triple or bench more for 4, you'll definitely get more for your 100% back. Just straight normal. Alrighty. Have a look at each individual's technique as well. How they leverage.
We'll get one of the girls.
Yep.
Vanessa! Don't choke!
Normally do your normal setup. Is that where you normally grab them? Yeah. Yes, sir. No, that's good. Is that how tight you'd be if you were doing your max bench? I reckon. So when you first set up, you need to make sure you're wedging your scapula as tight as you can to the pad. That's it. So if you think about it, if you're doing a row, you're throwing the weight in, you're squeezing as tight as you could. That's how it should feel through your back. You make sure you're holding as tight as you can and don't let your head relax back on the bench. You know, relax your traps. Try and keep your chin up, keep your head high on the bench. You're not allowed to rest your head back. You're not allowed to go to sleep on benches. Traps tight. And pay attention the whole time. Bring it down. Good. You guys probably see looking at how much tighter she's holding her head up and giving it back a little bit tighter. Nice follow on the pad of the bench. Okay, that's good for your upper body. Now we can get your legs to do something as well. So when you guys, everyone's going to be a little bit different, but don't try and bring your legs too far under you. One thing I will say, because that's another shirted thing. When you're in a shirt, you've got to have heaps of weight around through your belly, so you can push down your stomach, you've got to have your legs tucked under you pretty far. Otherwise you can't use the shirt properly. But when you're raw, you've got to make sure you can really get your feet pretty solid on the floor and push your weight up onto the traps. So we'll try a different setup with you today. Feet up on the end of the bench. Lift your bum right up. So you feel all the weights up on your back. Head off the bench again. Wedged in, squeeze the scapula. Now I want you to keep all that weight up here so that's going to feel the same and put your feet back on the floor. But this is going to stay weight up on here. So your bum's just going to be just a little bit to the bench.
Perfect angle.
Yeah, that's fine. That's how you can reach the ball. As long as you're keeping yourself up on the traps. So the weight's still up on you. Now bring the weight out. And the whole time I want you pushing your feet into the floor, so you're pushing up onto your trap. Especially as you push back up. That's it. Good. You see when she's pushing up, she can push with her feet, which gives you a little more lift with the bar as well. If they're a little bit short, you can put plates down. Well, that's that in competition.
Touch chest and drive.
So the foot drive all the way up, obviously is more important, but you don't want to wait till you go and push the way back up to start your leg drop, which is another shirted thing. So on the way down, you have to be as tight with the shirt, up and through you pull the bar apart. And then when you go, that feels harder for me than when I'm trying to push back up. Yeah, getting it down in the right position with the right tension feels like the harder part of the movement than actually pushing the weight back to the top. So you've got to make sure on the way down you are using your leg drop. Just don't just let your feet sit there all relaxed and loose. Make sure on the way down you are pushing your feet as hard as you can. You're trying to keep as tight as you can on the way down. Then when you come back up, they're already ready to go. No problem. The bar should feel really big.
I have a question.
Yep.
I got told, like, at Good morning. Like, was training, you land to push my feet back or keep my butt on the bench, and I noticed a lot of the heavier, like, girls that were benching had, like, set up all the way, like, their feet were almost touching.
Yeah, well, they're bent right under.
Yeah, like, way under.
So we'll go through actually these two different things because we're talking about the arch in the back. So the reason why they're doing that big stuff, getting the feet tucked under, is to get as big an arch as they can to get the ribcage up high. And the reason they're doing that is because they don't know any other way to get the ribcage up. Yeah? So that's obviously, that's a fail-safe way of making sure someone's in an arch position with their chest out as high as they can possibly go, which we have to have when we're benching head. But you don't have to tuck your legs to do that. You can lock in your back. So if I was sitting here, you tell me if there's any difference in how high my chest is. So just so high as I can get it, lock in my shoulder blades here. I'm expanding my ribcage as high as I can. If I bring my legs under, it's not going to change how high my chest is. I'm already expanding as much. That's why this setup is the way to make sure you get block your face. Always make sure your stomach's higher than your chest. And then when you put it down, you don't want to let your stomach drop back down. So there's flat. Your stomach has to stay, your ribcage has to stay higher than your chest. So my best angle here, bring my hips back down, keeping that part of my chest up high, and then bring my foot back to the floor. So I'm in that position the whole time. And that way I can still have my feet, still have my feet firm on the floor, and I've still got my chest up at the same time. And that way I'm not losing any tension by having my foot under here. If I've got my feet like this, when I'm trying to bench heavy, I can't really do a whole lot in terms of leg drop.
There seems like you look at, for example, you look at Max bench. He has a lot of leg drive, but his legs are pretty much near backwards on his hip side.
Up on the toe?
Yeah, on the toes.
But whether it's effective leg drive or not, so obviously you still can push your legs, but when you push it here, you think you're going for your hip. So if my legs are tucked right over here, and I'm pushing as hard as I can, all I can really feel is you're pushing my hips. My legs behind my neck. So if I'm pushing as hard as I can down here, all it's really doing is stretching out my hip flexor and pushing my hip up. I don't feel a whole lot of weight.
I've seen him, the neck drop, a few of them also, the bar does.
Pushes and lifts the bar.
Yeah, lifts the bar. So
And when your legs are out here though, you'll feel like you can push yourself into the bench more. Use my elbow exercise that. It's what Dave Tate, obviously you've seen, or many of you guys see Dave Tate's, he's gone through where he shows the difference between a suited bench and a raw bench. How he benches his feet out here. The reason being is because when he pushes his feet out here, when he's benching raw, he can push himself onto his traps a lot tighter. Rather when you're under here, you can still do the same thing because it's still in the shirt, you're still trying to get that arch, but you're more pushing and lifting your body. There's less downward force on your trap, on the pad. So when you're trying to bench as heavy as you can raw, that downward force up here is what stops your shoulders from popping up. Obviously not as much of a worry when you're able to roll your elbows out. Yes. In a shirt, when you're benching raw, you've got to make sure you really keep yourself pinned on that pad. As soon as that comes up a little bit, you fail you into the top 100%. So it's more about feeling that way. That's why I made that setup of kicking your hips up and feel that pressure up here. You know, so you feel a lot more locked into the bench. That's why I don't like the feet being too far tucked under. So if they tuck under too far, you'll feel a little bit less pressure up on the top of the track. Should make it harder to push the weight as fast over. When you're pushing, make sure as much as we're trying to push forward, we're also trying to push back. We're not trying to launch the weight, push through the chest and the shoulders. We're also trying to push and heave back into the bench as hard as we can. So you've got to work so whatever muscle you're trying to crack, your chest, your triceps, you always work the opposite muscle. So you can work your traps, you can squeeze your biceps. It's like a rubber band. Yeah, it's two sides. If you're stretching it on one side, you're not getting as much tension if you're stretching on both sides. So to work your chest as hard as you can, you have to have your trap, squeeze as hard as you can as well. As soon as that comes out, you know, this part of the rubber band is then relaxing as well, so you don't have as much tension through there anymore. And vice versa, something I just forgot to mention there is your bicep versus tricep. Obviously we don't use our bicep when we bench press, correct? But if you have it relaxed, you're not going to be able to use your tricep as well either. So you have to flex your bicep as you bring the weight down. So if you haven't trained your biceps much before, but you don't know how to actually flex them, it makes it a little bit harder to have tension on the bar as well. So I'd recommend doing some bicep work, which we'll go through a little bit too, where you have complete contraction while you're doing curls, not just like a hammer curl to bring it up one to doing a heavy barbell curl where you're relaxing more. Learning how to keep your bicep flexed for a whole set.
Do you find bicep work more effective when done in the mono?
Yes, definitely. They should have the walk out direction. You got the one there, that's perfect.
No, yeah, that's a good point because I've been putting the beginner guys on biceps, but I really haven't. I just done the biceps, you know, just go for the motion. Well, like there's no time of attention, you just really just go for the
Well, the
motion.
best thing to make a culture of, what I say to people, especially if they don't want to do bicep work, because power's always started with bicep work, that's the bodybuilders say. Well, you've got to use your tricep when you're pushing a big weight on your bench, right? And what's the opposite muscle to your tricep? It's your biceps. And then you go back to that whole other band thing. Your triceps trying to contract as hard as you can. If the muscle on the other side of that bone is the bicep and it's weak, it can't fully contract and push the weight back up. You have to be in balance. If you're too far out of balance, that's when you get a notice like people's technique breaking down on the bench. Yeah, if they have good technique but you still break down, usually it's because something is in balance. Yeah, even things like side raising, you have to do a little bit of side delt work. If your front delt becomes too powerful for your side delt, starts overcarrying, it's going to kick and it's going to roll your shoulder forward. So you've got to keep your side delt strength there, you've got to keep your rear delt strength, so everything stays in balance.
There's a lot of bodybuilding good bench.
Bench press, that's why obviously a lot of bodybuilders have a big bench compared to their squat deadlift, which is very impressive, is because bodybuilding and your bench press do correlate a lot more together than deadlift. The big squat's obviously a lot more, speed generation, power, or getting loose that way, which is so much a representation of bodybuilding. As worried about that sort of bit. But the bench press, they are worried about that. They want to be strong in their tries, their shoulders, through the chest, and that's why the bench press becomes a much larger lift for them. Like you grab any one out of the top 5 bodybuilders in the world, they'd all have world-class bench press. Chuck in a bench press meet, world bench press meet, they'd all place in the top 10.
Well, what's his name? 80 kilos, 2 bench.
Ange Gelati?
Gelati.
Yeah. Who's the under 80 kilo Australian champ?
Yeah. That's what I picked up when I spoke to you, like the big bodybuilding and kind of things in my head that the benches,
The benches, yeah. And obviously any bodybuilder, that's how much people ask. They always ask how much you bench, how much you need squat and how much you need deadlift. Bodybuilders always about how much you need bench, because that's the only lift where you really see them max out. You don't see them max. Squats is always set to 10, 12. Deadlifts is usually a stiff leg deadlift or a rack deadlift. It's not really a powerlifting lift. But when we talk about the bench press, like we're saying, the bench press, they do actually do specific bench press work to try and make sure they can bench bigger weight. You trace that all the way back to Franco and Arnold days. Franco had a world record bench press at 1-3 missed drills. So it's been there from the start. Accessories, probably the most important. And if we track it back, like we were talking about the early days, bench presses probably didn't get over about 600 pounds until late 70s, 80s, before people could handle that kind of weight. And a lot of people remark on the fact that's when the incline bench press was sort of starting. So in terms of direct effects to how much you can flat press, incline bench press is probably the most important accessory you can do. Incline barbell bench. So you should be, some workouts you probably even start with an incline barbell bench before you do your flat bench. Because I would say it's going to give you much more of a strength curve than a flat.
Sort of a nitpicky question, but it's come up a few times. What sort of incline?
45 is usually ideal. Yep. So at its exact 45 degree.
I've just always led to believe at 45 and above, obviously, the delts, the front delts.
It will put a bit more load. It makes it harder technique-wise to keep the pressure out of the front delt.
And a lot of guys start to arch and becomes a flat bench.
It becomes a flat bench. Yeah, with it. Same thing we're talking about there with the lower back arch versus the upper back arch. When you're doing incline bench, don't worry about that lower back arch. Yeah? Lower back arch is not going to help us bench, especially raw anyway. Your lower back doesn't have to have that big, like you see some girls having a big triangle when they're set up on the bench. As long as your traps are tight, your upper back's tight, and you're locked in, you're going to have the pressure through your back. You can have your shoulders back as tight as you can. You don't have to have your hips right up and around. Some of the biggest, even female benches in the world, you've probably seen a Russian girl, she's 48 kilos, she benched under 2.5, new world record, yeah? Big arch like that, that's so she can get a shorter range of movement, yeah? So it's got nothing to do with the fact that she's trying to use her leverage and whatever. But you look at some heavy girls, like she's using that flexibility, she's basically cheating. That bench there goes down to her stomach. I would prefer that one than that bench. But a lot of the other big bench players, 60 kilo, 70 kilo class, same thing, their arch isn't as extreme and their feet are starting to be more flat out here. If you look at recent big world championships in the States. Floor, back up like that,
Is it the African-American girl?
yeah.
Yeah, she's a freak.
His bench press, see what I mean? With the setup, how the arch is in the same level of extreme. Ridiculous bench.
Yeah.
But it shows you don't need to use that.
Yeah, she didn't arch at all.
That curve. Just laying there, keeping that tension from the back. So unless it's going to help you, everyone's different. Unless that arch is going to help us to push more weight, by sort of trying to bend it all, then you can use it. But in terms of trying to be as strong as you can and push the maximum weight you can, that arch is not going to help you be stronger under bench. The only thing it's going to help you do, like I said, is make that bar pass shorter and possibly trying to get a bench where you don't have to move down as far and then lock back up. Cool.
So sorry, once again on the incline, 45, the lower back can be arched.
Yeah, just a little bit that neutral posture, but yeah, not lifting your hips up and not trying to make a flat bench like you were saying.
Yeah.
But I would say always press to the neck.
Oh, to the neck.
Yep. So don't bring the bar down to your chest when you bench on incline. Bring it right up into the top of your neck. So you guys got one over here anyway?
Yeah.
Do you want to go through?
You have a collarbone? I think it's upstairs.
As high as you can.
Oh, it's there, yeah.
Just got to get a bench under it, that's all. We'll go over it.
We're learning.
Probably the most too steep and that one's a little bit too low. We're trying to find a slightly in between the two. Like you set up straight, you're still going to get your upper chest. Come down to your neck. Okay. So obviously if we bring the bar down here, push back up, that's just like a normal bench. We're not loading up the upper chest as much. So we're trying to go elbows out, we're not tucking them in at all. Down into our neck. Yeah? So not upper chest, a full stretch, just right up on the neck. Which will make you have pretty strict form so you're not going to bounce it as if you don't go. So from there, and then push it straight through, and straight back down. So there's no up and back, and rolling the elbows just straight up, straight down. So it's a neck press. And that's going to be, yeah, so actually I might throw it.
Yeah, but if you fail there,
You'll probably die.
Good question. Yeah. Come on, bro. No stupid questions, G.
Spotter, like I said, you're not going to be able to sit there without a spotter anyway, and it does encourage strict form, so you're not going to be bouncing it, and you won't die. You can roll it down your body.
Mention the flaring out, but down here, we don't have any issues later on with the shoulders.
as long as we're keeping the stretch.
Yeah.
So you guys have done dumbbell flies and feel that stretch through the chest. Whenever you bench it, you have to feel that stretch of your chest. Yeah? Going back to that elastic band theory, your chest has more muscle fibers in it than any other muscle we're using on the bench. You have to feel like you're stretching those fibers out when you bring the weight down. If you don't feel that, then yeah, your front delt's going to take it away, your elbow's going to be taken away. So it should feel like you're on a fly. Which is why we're talking about before. A lot of big benchers have terrible body flexibility. Like with these guys doing Olympic weightlifting, I can't even hold my arm properly over my head because of the amount of tension I'm trying to develop through that pectoral area. As soon as I'm trying to take my arm out of that area, obviously there's a lot of tightness, which I want to keep. If I was to go and do heaps of stretching and loosen that up, I'd probably get weaker on the bench, not stronger. Because I want to have a lot of tension. So it depends on what you got to specify what you want to achieve. If you're going to have a lot of flexibility, be able to press and be flexible up over your head, it's going to make it harder for you to bench this bigger weight, which is why they all walk around a little bit hunched up and looking kind of pretty tight, because they are pretty tight.
But wouldn't it kind of contradict if where a lot of guys do low bar work, you should be able to get your hands at least a certain height, so be able to get close.
They can feel a bit more comfortable in that squat, obviously.
Yeah, squat. Yeah.
But you can adjust, you do your 3-finger hook grip, as long as you trap tight. That's more about just how to make sure your trap's tight under the bar. Yeah. And yeah, probably make it a little bit harder for the feel you guys do with stretch.
Getting tight.
So it's all 3 lifts. Yeah. But there's large squatters that have pretty terrible upper body flexibility. Andre Valanche doesn't have amazing upper body shoulder rotation flexibility. Obviously, he's just jamming as best as you can. Yeah. And then ripping it into his traps as tight as you can. Yeah. And because you've got that kind of weight behind you, even if you're not flexible, you can jam. Like I'm terrible, I can barely get my arms in there when I first walk up. But after I've done a few sets, I can just grab it and jam my arms back there anyway, and it'll hold them in the position, as long as I'm still having that tension through my chest. If anything, it'll make it feel tighter, as long as your traps are tight, you have that level of resistance on the bar. Within reason.
Within reason, yeah. Yeah, if you're getting just to here, then
you have zero rotation. But then on the other end of the scale, you have a lot of flexibility, like weightlifter level of flexibility, be able to get right up over your head. That's going to make it pretty hard for you to keep good bench press tension.
But they don't bench, so.
And they don't bench. So I'd say accessory number 1 is incline press. That should either be first up for every chest workout, or your second next.
I just
dumbbells.
You read it up and then you say, why would you do incline if you want to get you practice the movement that you're supposed to do?
Because of that chest stretch. So when we're laying flat, your chest isn't in that expanded position as much. When we're doing incline, it's going to pull on your chest a lot more. So if I was to grab anyone for a demonstration who wants to do it, and we'll go through it, we'll show you how much it pulls out your chest more so if you're jumping.
Shake it in.
Okay, shake it in.
Shake it in.
Shake it in.
Feel the difference between this and a flat bench.
Don't shake.
Same grip, there and there is probably good for your height. Okay. So you're going to bring it down into your neck, stretch, and then squeeze your chest and push back up. Don't tuck your elbows in there, keep your bar back here, and keep your elbows facing. Bring your bar down into your neck. And then push back up. Feel that tracking in your chest. That's not your neck.
So his elbows are really tight.
Try and keep him out. This is coming down to his chest activation. There we go. Push it back up. That's better. Wrists. Don't pitch wrist it. There we go. Pitch wrist. That's what that's here, and then push your chest. That's it. Now you can see just with the bar, just from making him do that, because he hasn't been doing much before. His upper chest is shaking and trembling all over the shop. Shake it out. If you were to take over the flat bench though with the bar, I guarantee you wouldn't be shaking away with the bar. Yeah, so it's muscles he's not used to squeezing, contracting. Yeah. And it's going to make his chest work a lot harder than when you're on the flat. So it's like an isolation movie that you can do for your chest.
It seems a bit different. What you mean, not flaring your elbows out when you bench. He doesn't have a
yeah, not to keep out wide. Yeah, it's a bench. It's an accessory.
Well done, Jack.
Shake it in.
Just got the level of activation of the chest that gives you. Very weird. Another thing to think of with incline bench is if you can incline bench more, you can always flat bench that way. You're never going to out incline press your flat bench. And incline press, especially from training from my experience, it comes up in quicker rate because there's more muscle activation doing it.
Hey, just curious question. If you had one choice, either dumbbell, incline dumbbell press or barbell, which one would you prefer and why?
Okay, so I do both with the workout. But say if you said to me, you've got to increase your bench as much as you can in a year, and you have one exercise to do it, I would actually do incline bench, not flat.
But with the
Even over the two. So incline barbell bench.
dumbbell or barbell?
Barbell. Yeah, so barbell is the best occupation. So barbell incline bench is probably the best thing to bring on bench, even over flat bench. So if you do a lot of incline barbell pressing, it's going to be good for your flat bench, it's going to be good for your dumbbell bench, it's going to give you the biggest bench press possible. Like I said, if I did nothing but this for a full year, nothing but incline, I'd still probably break a flat bench record because I'd be getting stronger up top. And then when I go to flat, it feels easy, it doesn't feel hard.
Well, the technique on that is flares out, but then if you haven't done it for a year, would you say you still?
Your technique's probably a little bit off, but your chest will be because of the level of strain that you're putting through your chest on the incline, your chest has to get a lot stronger than when you're in your flat. Because you don't have those accessories. You don't have your shoulders and your triceps to help you out like you do when you're doing your flat. When you're doing your incline press, you pretty much only have your chest, which is obviously your main muscle when you're doing your flat bench press.
So you pretty much you can still muscle it up. Even though you technically you still muscle up the bench on the flat.
Yeah, you can use your accessories a lot. Well, on the bench, you can pretty much go 50-50. That's why a lot of them have triceps. You can use your chest and use your triceps. You can your front delts half the bench. On incline, you're pretty much using 78% chest only, which is what I'd say is my favourite accessory. I actually did do 3-4 months where I didn't do any flat bench, because I was trying to build up chest up in terms of bodybuilding comp. But I did incline bench, and I came back thinking, I'm ready to draw bench. That's when I first started benching 200. And I got 2 reps for 200, and I was getting about 194, 197.5 max before that. Nothing incline bench for a couple of months, came back, did flat bench, and 200 felt light. I was so used to trying to load this up to doing 160, 170 on incline. By the time I came back to flat, it felt a lot more comfortable.
So in terms of program, say you've got the guys benching 3 days a week, so Monday, Friday. How would you incorporate the incline press?
Just on the same day as their bench. So whether you're doing 2 a week bench rotation, you're going to bench it once a week. Make sure you're always doing an incline bar or an incline dumbbell in that routine.
Okay, same thing.
Same movement, yeah. So dumbbell, obviously you get a bit more squeeze at the top, yes, it's a little bit more in isolation. Same movement though, keep your elbows out, don't tuck them in. Bring it out, make sure you feel that stretch in your upper chest, and then you're pushing it up, get that squeeze of the chest at the very top end.
Yeah, the dumbbells upstairs the guys are actually tucking up when they first start out, the shoulders and the shoulder, nicking shoulder images.
Okay, so if they're feeling the shoulder,
it seems to be.
you've got to be careful not to cause injury. I'm talking more advanced lifters. You've got to be careful if they're a bit or they do have a shoulder problem.
Yeah.
But make sure, of course, you're getting massage on this area, using crick ball or getting deep tissue massage because it does tighten up a lot if you're benching all the time. And doing a little bit of stretching, like I said before, not overly stretching out that joint, doing enough stretching that's not going to grow up tight here. When you press, it's the level of tension you have in your back. Yeah? If this isn't tight, then you're going to use your front delts. Whenever you're pressing through your chest, it's almost like your back workout at the same time. Your traps should be sore after every bench press or chest workout that you do. If they're not sore, that means you probably won't keep time up through your session. So if you pull your traps, scapula, read up as tight as you can, and then you push, you see me there, I can't lift them up. I can't overload my front delt. As soon as I let that go and I start letting my front shoulders come up, which is bad form, that's going to overload that joint there. So yes, let's keep an eye if they're a bit newer to it or they have trouble with it.
Yeah, most of them just lay down in the bench and they're always flat out, they're all flat back.
Yeah, just trying to get that arch to it. Get on the foam roller, rolling it back in, used to being in that open scapula position. Also, sometimes it is just postural, like I'm talking about average people coming in who've got really tight front delts. Sometimes you actually can't fix their posture right there or there. Sometimes if their front delts are way too tight or their back can't get that up. It might take a few weeks before they can actually do that movement properly. In which case I would stay away from it altogether. So if they can't perform an incline bench properly, and it is
There's no pulling,
try and fix that posture first, make sure they can do it right, and then build up that incline press after. But if they, once you can do it right, that incline press is going to be the best thing to bring up.
Makes sense.
Can you go through your form when doing dumbbell press? It's still sort of over the neck, or
it's still trying to keep that bar bust, yeah. So still trying to keep that line of the dumbbells with meat up across the front of my neck. So I'm not see a lot of people that are trying to launch big dumbbells and trying to be the strongest guy in the gym. Bringing dumbbells down and resting on the shoulders, and then you hitching it, throwing it up off their chest using the tricep, yeah. All you get used to is just holding big weight in your arms. You're not really working your chest or your bench a whole lot. So you've got to make sure you still keep that posture, you still bring the dumbbells out and feel your stretch through your upper chest and then pushing it up over the top of your neck. So it still is an isolation for your upper chest. Make sure we're not trying to just move the weight up and down. Yeah? When we do our bench, we're trying to move the weight up and down. Dumbbells is an accessory, and accessory is obviously strict form. That's what we're aiming for. whatever. It's like me saying, do you do a stiff leg deadlift and you're doing it, bouncing off the floor, bending your knees and not really switching your hammies and glutes on properly. So it's a deliberate accessory work to make sure you're working your upper chest. Strict form, make sure you feel it up here.
Rep range for the incline program.
As would be ideal, that's going to make a big difference to your flat. Like I said, if I can handle close to my max bench on an incline, when you come back to your flat bench, it's going to feel a lot stronger. Yeah. So, super example now, how much is your max flat bench?
110.
110. How much have you got up to an incline?
Like 80.
Like 80. So you see that fair difference. So if you were to bring your incline up to about 90 or 100, which you should be able to do if you give it due attention the next few weeks, that 110 is going to feel a lot lighter on flat bench. Yeah. 100%. So if you can push this weight up a bit stronger, I guarantee you're going to get a PB on that flat bench. Because your upper chest is least trained out of the two. Yeah, you've done probably plenty of flat bench, a lot less incline bench.
Yeah, not much at all.
Exactly. So you think about like when a beginner comes to the gym, someone never trained before is going to get the best results, right? When they first come in, they haven't trained before, they don't know all these exercises. You make new squats and deads, their weight's going to go up pretty quick, they're going to get stronger fast. And we have that same theory with our flat bench. If you don't hit the flat bench and not done much flat bench, which one of the two is more likely to increase in strength? Or which one of the two is more likely to put muscle on you? The one that you've been doing all the time, your body's already experienced and used to it, or the new exercise with new muscle areas that you haven't worked as much before? Which is why we're always trying to look for slightly new movements or new areas to make the muscle improve and grow where it's not used to.
A lot of the guys here are at that point.
Yeah, I think obviously these guys are all lifters. So
Yeah, we're pretty much the newbie games are one now. Now it's at that other end.
where you're going to work those accessories. Yeah. So when you're trying to build up an exercise that you're already very good at, especially your bench lift tool, that's when you guys get pretty creative. So if your bench is already, you've been doing it for years and years, it's already at the top level. If you just keep doing nothing but your bench, it's not going to go anywhere. You've got to start looking at where else you can try and get stronger, or where you can build more muscle tissue that might help that bench come up. Which is why you probably see some pretty strange invented bench methods, which I have. Especially from Jimmy Wenlow's invented a few crazy looking exercises to try and put up his top end. Eric Spotter does some strange exercises too. And the reason they're doing that is because they've done all the other exercises for the last 10 years. Now they're looking for exercises to challenge the muscles in another way. So for you guys now, if you haven't done much incline, that's going to help you out a lot. And then we can do some other exercises later on as well.
Okay, so incline after every, just recap. Incline
Either first up, like I said, you can either do it before you do your flat bench, that's fine too. Incline, or flat bench and then incline straight away after. So make sure you're doing it while you're still pretty fresh.
For a beginner, obviously, more reps the better, so more movements. So standard 3 by 5 or 2 by 5.
Yes, standard repetition. If they're real new, yeah, keep it around that. Like even doing 5 sets, so it's heaps of practice. 5 sets of 5.
5 sets of 5, yeah.
It's gonna be a lighter weight, a lot more technique. If you kind of get more advanced, you're at that top end, you want to push pretty hard. First set, doing that 3 to 5, and as hard as you can, getting a spot and going absolute failure.
Oh, no. I was saying hi.
But then what if
I strike two, bro.
flat bench after the incline, the fatigue obviously kicked in.
You'd be slightly fatigued. You've had enough hamburgers and chocolate, you should be still okay.
Don't worry, we get enough of that.
I like this guy.
But yeah, so don't do, if you're a very advanced lifter, you don't want to do 2 sets of that rep range. So if you guys know, if you're very strong, you work yourself to failure 3 to 5, you can't back that up with a second set because you've just given it all you've got. It's a max lift. So I'd say do your first set 3 to 5, hit and failure on your incline bench. If you do a second set where you get a bit more pump, a bit more squeeze, drop the weight back, hit maybe 10 to 12 reps, and just make it 2 sets total. Which is my favourite training way, especially once you get to a level where you're quite advanced with all your lifts. I don't really believe there's a need for any more than 2 sets on an exercise. Unless you're going through a volume period where you're trying to overload the muscle or you're doing some other type of training. In terms of pure strength training, 2 sets is usually your best number to stick to. 1 set hitting that 90%, 3 to 5 reps around there, sometimes even working up to a single or a double, and then dropping back and working between that 8 and 10 rep range, which is where you're going to fail in the muscle before you fail in the technique.
That's obviously different. Like most of the guys here are intermediate lifters, so 100 plus benches and stuff. So that obviously a bit more volume than the two.
Yeah, so a bit more volume. Then you're talking about doing 3 5s, 4 5s, things like that. Once you learn how to really specifically hit an exercise, so if you feel really advanced on a flat bench or you feel really advanced on an incline, you know you can do that exercise 100%. Then you should be pushing yourself to that absolute 100% of the exercise. The best way to get stronger.
Raise the intensity up.
Raise the intensity right up. Yeah. And that's not talking about squats and deads, that's a different theory. Repetition of squats and deads and accessory work is more important when it comes to those. In terms of bench, because it is, like talking about a much more of a bodybuilding type movement, much more of a muscle tissue important movement, I'd say working the muscles to failure and training in that bodybuilding mentality is going to give you a bigger bench. Rather than, you see a lot of bench press programs from powerlifters where it's, do your 5 sets of 3, your 2 sets of 2. That's not going to build the muscle tissue as much, therefore you're not going to get as strong in the long run. Because you're working on the technique and the power movement for an area where you need to build muscle. So you've got to train a little bit more like a bodybuilder. So doing your flies, doing your dips, like I said, doing curls, side raises, triceps, all this has to go into your bench press workout if you want to get your bench to come up.
Do you have any experience with the slingshot or anything like that?
I've tried it a couple of times, yeah, definitely, but I wasn't a fan of it in terms of, it depends on what you're weak. If you were really weak only at the top, the slingshot will help you because it'll get you used to overloading and working your lockout at the top all the time. But for me, it felt like it gave me a lot of spring, like put me up over 20% of my max. You can pretty much chuck it in, you can put 20% on your max, you can do it no problem.
Yeah, I get about 20-30 kilos out of it. The benefit to me, I find, is it just gets me actually taking out and holding heavier weight through a full range. Do you think there's any benefit to that?
I don't actually think there's much benefit to getting used to the feel. Yeah, on squats, I've tried a little bit more. It has a bit more of a benefit getting used to the feel of a heavier weight. But in terms of bench, like I said, that tight grip will eliminate you ever really worrying about how much your weight feels in your hand. If you squeeze the bar tight enough, like I said, you should not be able to tell how heavy that rate really feels in your hands.
So you don't need to do overload work on.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you got overload work on squat, you got overload work on
Which
hands.
has benefit. Yeah, doing rack pulls for dads, doing overload work on squats to get used to a top end partial.
Yeah.
But for bench, I've never experienced overload work having any benefit on it. I never really heard anyone say to me, you should do overload work on your bench, or even saying that they have done overload work.
Yeah, there's not many.
Like Andrew Cleese from Queensland, one of the biggest benches in Australia, raw, 255, never goes near that sort of weight in his training. Like he's doing all, like I'm talking about reps, stuff like that. Like, and he's taking out 250 kilos out of a rack when he comes to a comp. He's not practicing to handling 260 or 270 kilos in his hands before he does that. He's just used to, crushing the bar, keeping it tight. So when he comes to comp, that weight's not going to feel heavy to him because it's tight enough under the weight. Yeah. So if you're doing slingshot work, like I said, some scenarios I'd say might help with working your lockout and building your top end. But how the weight feels in your hands is going to be how tight you are, and it's not going to mean you're going to be able to bench more from it just feeling lighter in your hands because you've got all these other muscles that need to be strong too. And from the suited guys, because they used to slingshots a lot to get used to the suits and the suits a lot, they become quite weak at the bottom of their bench. So if you're doing it too often, you're going to find you're going to dump the bar when you're going for a big raw bench because you're going to bring it down, then you get to this no man's land that you're not used to, where that usually kicks in, and you're not going to feel confident with the weight. Might feel nice and fantastic at the top, because you're used to benching the top, but it's going to feel real terrible at the bottom. And then all of a sudden, that light feeling at the top isn't going to benefit you anymore.
Oh, just the jury's a bit out on the overload on the slingshot and using.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, 100% not a fan of any form of bench press overload. Yeah, no rack presses, no board presses. It's a full movement. And just from doing obviously very heavy max benches in a comp, the whole movement itself is hard from top to bottom. Yeah? If you're failing at the top, it's, as Louis would say, it's probably because the weight's too fucking heavy. Yeah? If it feels heavy at the top, you can't lock it out. I've missed with weights at the very top end. It's probably because it's just past my max. I just couldn't bench that on that day. So you should be strong through the whole movement. You've got to fail somewhere. And I'd rather fail towards the top end because I ran out of energy and I couldn't quite finish that rep than fail right at the very bottom. Because then I've missed it completely. So a weight feeling lighter in your hands at the top isn't necessarily good. Having a really powerful lock and me struggling my ass off to get the weight to the top and then also go bang and locking it out really strong, that means my bench is a bit out of weight. It should be a bit more, it should be consistently strong from the bottom to the top, which is like completing proper, full training reps in the gym.
It's just interesting how you say that no 2-board, 3-boards for the sticking point. So I've been getting the guys who get stuck here. For example, Luke for Nationals is getting stuck here a lot, and then Paddy's all getting stuck here. Then I put the 2-board on there, and I started doing overload on that. It seemed to.
I've 100% done that before in the past too.
And he said, "What was working?" I'm not contradicting.
It does work.
Just saying.
I'm not disagreeing with you all. Doing 2-ball work does work. Doing a rack press does work to work that weak point there.
Yeah.
But what I've been thinking about, especially lately, which has been working a lot better than doing the 2-board, especially ongoing, is why they were failing there. So doing a 2-board and making the pressure of the 2-board is all well good because they're going to get stronger from that point. But I never really addressed the issue of why it was weak there. All I did was make those muscles that were possibly working where they shouldn't have been stronger from that 2-board point. Say if he was failing there because his scapula was coming loose, And then we did 2 board work for the next 4 weeks, which would work because he'd get stronger out of his shoulders and his tricep. Or he could push and maybe cheat his way out of that weak point. We never fixed the issue which was causing the weakness in the first place. Yeah. Like me saying with my bench, when it's feeling 100%, I feel the same strength from the top to the bottom. There's no real weak point of my bench. If I miss the weight, it's simply because the weight was too heavy. It's not because I felt really weak all of a sudden somewhere on the bench, which is all good bench pressers aren't going to miss it. That sudden, I missed it at the bottom, or I completely missed it mid-range. They'll sort of just miss it with fingertips, helping it up. So if you're needing to do 2 board press, it's okay if you've got in terms of ongoing training in the gym, you need to find out why you're missing at that point. And the most common 3 board I've seen, most common board work I've seen is a 3 board, and 100% of that is scap tension. If you're failing around your 3 board, which is usually around that sort of range there, that's 100% your scap tension. Because it just means your scap's coming out when you get to the middle of your bench, and then your pec's not working anymore. So if you were to go down and start working off your 3 board, it's not going to fix that problem. All it's going to do is make your shoulders and your triceps stronger to work from that 3 board point. So you probably hit a PB in comp still, yes. Your triceps will get stronger. You will get stronger from doing that movement. But you're not fixing your ongoing strength, not working your body as a whole. To give yourself the best chance to get stronger in the future. So try and look at more of a technique point. Go and do more T-bar rows, go do more trap work, make your traps stronger. Do some more band pull-outs to make sure your shoulders do stay back. So that way you bench it tighter as you push it up, and then you can build the strength up with normal full range bench presses.
Yeah, I see what you're doing, because a lot of guys get stuck here. So obviously, it's just chest.
Which is probably either chest strength, they haven't done much accessory work and stuff, or the scap's coming out, which is why they're missing it. One of the two. There's always going to be a reason. If someone's completely failing around the 3 board, like we said before, 1 is too heavy. If they're pushing it, they ain't going anywhere. It's just a massive weakness. The weight's just too heavy. But if they can push easy from here to here, as I said before, someone can go boom, push the weight real fast, and then jam it. Can't move anywhere from there. Or they can push it, get stuck here, but then 1 or 2 inches further than that, they can push the weight no problem up there. Yeah? So that's a massive weakness through the chest. Chest and scapula needs to get stronger. And then vice versa. If they can push it all the way up to the top here, then they're really, really weak at the top. Rather make them do a 5 board press where it's just tricep, make them do heavy tricep work. Because if triceps get stronger, then the top end won't be so weak anymore either. Or doing more bottoms up press. If their wrist is sort of feeling the old bitch wrist at the top, and the tricep is weak and they can't lock it out at the top, make them do more bottoms up press, make them do more tricep work. Fix the problem through building the muscle tissue, make yourself stronger and longer, rather than fixing the problem the quick, easy fix way, which isn't going to be ongoing. You got to think about joint health too. If you're always doing, because board pressing is heavy. Board pressing is not where you're going 80%. Board pressing is where you get near your max weight, maybe take 10% off that, then you're trying to press that weight off the board. You can't do that week in, week out. What you can do week in, week out is extra tricep work, extra deltoid work, extra scapular work, which is going to make you stronger in the long run. You've got to look at that periodization of your program, that 3 or 4 month programming that you can continue to get gains. You can't board press for 3 or 4 months straight ever and continue to get results from it. So keep it as a thing up your sleeve. If you need to do it, you've got a comp in 4 weeks, you discover you have a really crappy, annoying sticking point, you might want to do some rack presses, you can still add it in there if you feel like it's going to benefit you. In terms of training in the gym, I would stay away from doing accessory work and slingshots and things like that.
I think it's what I got the guys to do the last 6 weeks is all board. But like you were saying, off season.
Which can work for a competition.
Yeah, this is what it's going to work, but off season, generally just don't stay away from it.
Yeah, generally. And if they're a very good bench presser, like they have a very good off season, a very good bench press, by the time they get to comp, that issue won't be there anymore either. Like your biggest benches will not be doing board presses after that in preparation for a comp. I haven't seen it. So your very advanced lifters don't use boards. This is one way we think of it. And then your medium lifters, intermediate, seem to do a lot of board work. So that tells you what's going on there. The intermediate lifters are trying to get to that advanced level, but they're not using the right exercises to get there. They're trying to do the easy fix, fixing the problem, in 4 or 5 weeks, rather than thinking, okay, if I bench and work on my weakness in the next 3 months, then your bench might actually come up a bit more, rather than trying to fix a weakness quickly. Like we all know, we're all powerlifters, we all know the quick fix is not the way to get stronger. You're not going to come to the gym and hit PBs and get strong like that because, you want to be the next buffed up guy for a music festival or something.
Trent?
It makes sense. Just just different to what you read and study and stuff. So sticking point work is you always think it's a sticking point. You work on sticking points kind of thing.
That's it.
It's ingrained in your head.
Very powerful mentality. Like I said, it does work a lot more with a squat or a dead. I still have this mentality very similar to when I do my squat and dead work. But
Yeah, it seems to work for the devs, like, you know, speed off the floor.
exactly, like deadlifts that work for deadlifts is fantastic.
Yeah.
Hitting your leg off the floor, doing a rack pull to get used to holding a bigger weight works a lot more. But from my experience on the bench, whenever I've done it, or whenever I've seen people do it, or whenever I've asked people, or even looked at videos online of people talking about it that are advanced, none of them seem to have any good things to say about doing any sort of lockout work or over 100% sort of work. So things like other than equipped lifters, I should say that. So you've got to really find that fine line of, if you're looking at someone talking about bench and he's an 800 pound equipped lifter, it's work for him because he's talking about what's worked for him in a bench shirt.
I think I've seen Spotter use a board before.
Yep.
But that was probably when he was, probably when he was
Close to comp, probably adding it in.
Yeah.
Trying to work on a weak point closer to his comp.
This was like 3 weeks out.
But I heard recently, especially one thing he said when they asked about how the type of training he does, maybe that's getting a further level. And it sounded real basic, like you said. He doesn't do over 90%, he doesn't do board presses, he doesn't do rack presses. He just handles big weight, does the full range. He tries to build his strength that way. So probably as he's getting stronger and more advanced, because he's a freak of strength anyway, he'll probably bench 250 kilos out of training. As he gets stronger, he's simplifying it back down as well. I was talking about intermediate. His intermediate was a 250 kilo bench. That's what we've got to think of. Yeah? So as he's becoming more advanced, he's benching 330 kilos. So everyone's got a different level of intermediate. Intermediate lift doesn't mean how much you can bench. Intermediate lift means how much you can bench for you. Yeah? If you've trained it for 7 years and your bench is still 110, 120 kilos, that doesn't mean you're a novice lifter. You're probably intermediate towards advanced. If you're trained, your technique might be spot on. It just depends on your level of strength. So you've got to judge it on how much you can lift and how long you've been training for technique, not just the weight itself. So I've got people in my gym that I train as well who have been training for years and they've got very good technique, but they go on through the comp they wouldn't do too well because they're not naturally very strong. But I would still call them an advanced lifter because they know how to lift. Yeah, you wouldn't see them having technical issues. They train properly, do everything right. They're just not naturally a very strong person, or their diet's not up to the same standard to make them get strong consistently. That's all it is. Any other questions in terms of exercises? I'd like to go through a couple of tricep accessories if we can as well.
Yeah, sure.
Any other questions with chest accessories before we move on? Dips, I think it's a pretty basic concept. Everyone's doing dips. Upper body squat.
I've noticed this is also accessory work. The correlation between overhead, because there's a couple of strongman guys here, never mentioned before, get on the bench, does 120, but he overhead presses 100, something like that, but then gets under close grips. Same as you.
I would say the same rule of thumb as the incline. Whatever you can overhead press, if you can't flat bench, there's something. And we're talking overhead press, not clean and jerk, not jerk.
It's a strict.
Yeah, so strict overhead press, which I do a lot of too. I do the hips and log press too, because I like going strongman competition there. Yeah. And with Arj is here, no?
AJ.
AJ?
Yeah, he's not here today.
Not in today? Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one I was talking about.
I've competed with him in a couple of comps.
Someone told him to bench, and he's like, oh, all right. People kept asking about the shits, and he benched him like 120 or something.
Yeah, that's strongman. So if you can overhead press something strict, you definitely should be able to flat press it. It doesn't mean using your chest. That just means they're very strong for their shoulder and their arm, which strongmen are. Yeah. For the comp division. That's why I've done some strongman training as well, because it's a good accessory work. You're getting used to moving that kind of weight when you come to lifting your bars, because strongman weights are a lot higher than what you lift in the gym. It will help you feel stronger, and it's a bit of accessory work as well. I would recommend that in training, maybe an extra day a week, doing conditioning day, doing atlas stones, doing your deadlift. If you guys looked at any of the current world's strongest man competitors, they all have ridiculously large deadlifts. They don't do much deadlifts.
It seems on the technique of the deadlift, I've been incorporating it in on Saturdays a couple of times, but the thing is, the way the mechanics of it is more like a stiff leg as you pull up.
Yeah. And your glutes and hammies are rolling it up through your body.
Okay. It's just, but the thing is, a lot of the strongman guys do stiff-legged. Like their deadlifts, the technique is,
deadlifts technique is the worst.
The worst, and
strongman.
It seems to be.
But because they're so strong through those accessory muscles, for example, I've seen recently Brian Shaw put up a training log of him doing max deadlifts, 410 kilos for 2.
Yeah, that recent one, yeah.
Which said he was real tired, felt really lethargic on that day. Worst fall. If you guys go back and watch that, he had wrist straps on, he had his knees sort of angling in, his back around it. It was bad technique, but all the accessories that he's done to build his strength, all the atlas stones, farmers walks, all the depths of deadlift work he's done, he has a lot of strength from all those strange movements that work a lot more muscle tissue than just doing a deadlift would do. So that's why he's strong. If he went and powerlifted and refined his technique, he'd pull even more weight. So doing that sort of stuff is going to help you feel stronger, not only your bench, your deadlift, your squat. That's why I do like strongman training as an accessory on the side.
Yeah, you were one of the guys he drew. He went on cube for Strongman. I programmed that in, and his deadlift went right up.
Yeah.
Like 10 kilos.
They've got the potential. You combine those two, you do like a cube method with a strongman 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah, it was 3 days cubed and then Strongman.
3 days cubed and then Strongman.
Events on the weekend. His deadlift went up. So you're a
big advocate for it.
big
Yeah.
advocate,
Because
yeah.
our gym same
Yeah,
time.
sure.
We've got Atlas
I was surprised
Stone,
actually. I didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
He pulled the 10 kilo big lead.
Yeah, I've noticed definitely the same as you've noticed. I've noticed the guys that do strongman 1 or 2 days a week and go in strongman comps, namely a guy at our gym called Tommy K, very big, 110 kilo guy, very big guy, does heaps of strongman comps. His strongman strength is a lot higher than his powerlifting strength, but he gets decent weight and get PBs, and he hasn't been concentrating on his powerlifting simply because he's getting stronger at his strongman out the stone with his log press movements. So they obviously have an effect on your free lift maxes as well. So anyone who's not doing strongman stuff at the moment, if you were to do just a little bit, add it into your program, it's probably going to help you with your free lifts. You're going to get stronger. Whether it just be doing log press, doing an Atlas stone, doing a farmer's walk, just a little bit 1 day a week, it will make you stronger, for sure.
Interesting. It's good. Put into the next program, like off season now. So I'm thinking doing 3 days of just powerlifting on the Saturdays. It's what usually bodybuilding days of the program for the
You can
guys.
still do both, so you can do morning and night, or you can do another day. I like to do 3, this is my 3 lifts.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I got my 4 lifts, so squat, bench, dead, overhead press, whether I do a log press or overhead press, and then a conditioning strongman day on top of that,
Yeah.
which I usually do a double split with doing my hypertrophy bodybuilding accessories as well. So we're talking about 6 sessions. It doesn't have to be 6 days, you can do, like I said, you can do a double split, you can do the strongman, you can do the bodybuilding accessories in the 1 day. Yeah, so that's probably everything you can be doing to make sure you're getting stronger. And if you're getting slow and you're getting unfit in your training, that's going to affect your speed and your strength and your lifts too. So you should be doing one type of Atlas stone strongman thing at least once a week. So it'll probably help you feel more conditioned with your training. Rest periods, so you're sitting around resting a lot, especially on certain days where you're trying to work harder. Conditioning coming up will help you to train harder in terms of doing your weight training as well.
With the rest periods on the main list, obviously, we just say like usually 3 to 5 minutes on the main list, but wait.
When you do something real heavy, yeah.
But
You
you
take
see
your 35 or 65. I don't like, obviously, being a freaking bodybuilder most up until recently, I don't like long rests because I'm concentrating on the whole level thing. One thing I will talk to you guys about, because I don't know whether anyone's a bodybuilder in here, is the benefit of short rests in terms of muscle growth. So when we're trying to build accessories in the gym, so we're doing our compounds, we're trying to work for maximal strength, the rest period is more than fine if you're doing a bench, a squat, and a dead. Just trying to make sure that's a good maximal set. When you're doing accessories like incline press, or you're doing accessories to your back like a chin up or a row, you should try and keep your rest to about a minute and a half maximum. And the reason being, and I know it's against the whole powerlifting mentality of full recovery, is the longer you rest for when you're doing a hypertrophy, the less blood flow you get in that muscle. Yeah, less pump is what it's called. And if you're not getting pump and blood flow in the muscle, that is minimising your chance to grow in that area. Because that blood is what brings you the nutrients, your amino acids, your protein cells, photosynthesis into the muscle to grow. If you're not getting a pump while you're training, you're not going to be able to build those accessories as much as if you had a short rest period in between. So have your long rest period doing heavy powerlifting stuff. When you get to your accessories, this is what you should be sweating. You should be doing it like a bodybuilder workout. You should be pumping, short breaks, working yourself pretty hard. And that's going to make your muscle grow more and build more muscle tissue in that area. You won't be able to lift as much because you're probably going to get a little bit more tired, but in the long term, you're going to grow more muscle. And once you get used to it, you'll be able to lift just as much weight and you've just cut your workout down to half the time. Because your conditioning's come up at the same time.
It's funny on that. A couple of guys who did the GVT program, just a 30-minute or 1 minute rest between. So second rest.
Yeah.
The squats went up.
Yeah, conditioning more muscle tissue growth.
Yeah, muscle tissue growth. Yeah, so and that was just on the main list, so it wasn't really extensive, but it wasn't like.
But you think about 75%. A guy like Tom Platts. Guys obviously know Tom Platts, one of the biggest squatters, good bodybuilder. His rest periods were tiny, and he would do marathon workouts with tiny rest periods. He'd squat with 30-second breaks. One workout I remember saying he squatted 2 plates for 10 minutes for conditioning, for some cardio. Just insane things, and going on like 40k bicycle rides with a loaded vest with the gear as high as he could do it just to condition his legs, and he could squat 600 pounds for reps. His max squat was 750 pounds, I think, back then. The guy's short, legs out here like this. And that's a person who never would have thought about doing a heavy squat and sitting down for 5 minutes on a break. So that didn't exist. All of his training was short breaks, conditioning work, trying to build muscle hypertrophy. And he had legs out here like this, obviously that's how he's got a large amount of weights. He's built all that muscle out using training. And he wanted to start out in the gym, he would start out doing 1 or 2 plates because he had such short rest periods. Or a 2-plate squat would have been very hard for him to start. But you do that for years and years on end, you end up doing like he was doing. He was doing 225, 230 kilo squats, sets of 15, 20, no problem. And he could rest for 30 seconds and then do it again. So that small weight that was conditioning turned into a very large weight that he could just do for the reps over years.
So in saying that, we just say two cycles of the year, 1 cycle is 3 months. So 2 training cycles, we can do strength, pure strength and systems, and then another training cycle we could go bodybuilding. Because that's what I've got guys on now.
8 weeks if you're there for pounds, it's not too long, I suppose. You're trying to work towards, you've got to worry about your 3 lifts coming up as well. I would say any more than 8 weeks. But for a good 8 weeks, at least once a year, you should be doing full-on hypertrophy bodybuilding training, try and build small tissue in areas that you possibly don't have as much muscle at the moment. And it also gives you a good unwind from doing heavy weight training. You don't want to do 12 months a year of heavy bench, heavy deads. Yeah, there's proven studies on your nervous system and on destroying your growth hormone production levels in your body that doing 12 months straight with no break is not good for you. So while you're having that downtime, while you are letting your body rest, many of you probably have 2 months where you don't even do any heavy lifting and don't do much training. You may as well do yourself a favour and do some bodybuilding, do some conditioning work, try and build some hypertrophy in areas that you haven't done as much. And that's going to help you when you come back to doing your heavy compounds again as well. So at least 8 weeks a year. I like to do 2 because I'm still doing a bit of bodybuilding training. I do 2 lots of 2 months a year.
Okay, so 8 week cycles.
8 weeks. And that's not touching a heavy weight. I'm not going anywhere near 90%. I'm doing 60, 70%. And just all pump, all squeeze, all bodybuilding type training. Which is what my joints get a break, my nervous system gets a hell of a break. You know, getting fitter, getting more hypertrophy. And it's not a bad way to get yourself ready to come into when you get ready for season.
Sweet. I guess we do the tricep stuff now, I guess.
Yeah, sweet. Any other questions for that? Sweet.
Okay.
Dumbbells are upstairs or?
Dumbbells are upstairs.
Try to push elbows in. Down the shoulder, push with the inner triceps and squeeze the top. And that's going to be your best help out that last couple inches on your bench, that lockout.
Would you recommend that for a lot of beginners don't have a stabilizer to do it?
Then you give them a bar.
Jihad,
Bar to help them out.
we need someone
Trouble up
on the bench.
bar is it doesn't kick the inner tricep as much. It's very easy when you're using the bar system and you struggle to use the outer tricep to push.
What if using the easy bar? We have the easy bar that has the curve, the belt.
So it's like that a little bit more. That would make it a little longer to try a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit better, but dumbbells is the best to get that right in that real tricep, which I think is very underrated in your max bench. So as much as the tiny little muscle smaller here is responsible for that clear lockout in the competition. Yeah. So you guys get your arms out just before you lock them out. Put your thumb into the inner part of your tricep in here. Now fully extend your elbow and squeeze. Feel that little muscle contract? Yeah. Yeah? So it's a tiny little muscle, not that large. Just that last little bit. Now unfortunately, the way the human body is designed, that little muscle is responsible for that and the lockout. There's not much other muscle doing the work to extend your elbows.
Is that the last couple of inches on that?
You guys probably saw me fail that 200.
Yeah, it was
just that. Yeah, just that little muscle at the top end, which is probably the hardest, especially when you've already pushed a weight that's near your max all the way through to the top. That last little muscle, that's where you do a lot of work to. You see, a lot of guys in comp will fail at that very top end. Getting a nice clear lockout, that's where they'll get like 2 red lights or something like that.
I wasn't wondering why you failed. I was just wondering, that's heavy ass weight.
It's really good.
Bench you might deadlift.
Even with all the work I did do for that muscle, and it still couldn't lock out the weight at the end of the day. Like I still feel like it was struggling and straining to finish that weight. So if you're not doing any work specifically for that inner tricep, you're going to have a lot of trouble locking out your 100% when it comes to a competition. Especially now that we've tweaked your technique to make it so you are using your chest and are using your triceps a lot more. You're going to make sure your triceps are very strong to finish off that bench at the very top end.
Andrew, you want to?
Yeah, thanks for remembering my name.
Let's go to Mark.
Okay,
It's got an automobile.
it's all over it. Tuck your elbows tight, get your elbows back behind the shoulders slightly. This way. Yep. Now bring down your elbow and extend. Get something.
So way past
I
the
know,
gears.
that's alright, so
Keep that way.
Just warming up.
I'm waiting for a minute.
Okay, so we've broken too many points of the posture change there. So probably just something like you pull your scaps up out into the air and head shoulder.
This is the last one.
Hard movements.
I'll get to it now.
So let's start from top. So lay down first.
Look at those heavy
First
weights.
scap. Shoulder blades bent, that can't change, yeah? Now bring your arms up. That wasn't that change. Okay. Bring your elbows back this way. Elbows, so keep your arms. Don't bend it. Yep. Bring your elbows back this way. Arms straight. Arms this way. Now we're going to bring it down. Now push up. There we go. See, everything your body wants to fight against and use the outer part of his tricep. See how weak that movement can be? We haven't trained this muscle before. Go ahead. I can feel it shaking as he's trying to push the weight up.
Can we get lighter ones?
Yeah, can we get like 1 kilo ones?
More people do that with 5 kilos.
That feels terrible, right?
Grab your stick.
That little muscle is there. If you can make that feel strong at the top, that's going to fix that lockout. Yeah, you probably failed numerous times and not really know why you missed it. You try to roll your elbows, you try to lock out the outer tricep. It's because they can't do that move. At the top end, you have to use that inner tricep to finish the press.
So is it placed behind the ear here, not in line, but just back?
So overhead press will hit your long headed tricep, which is important too, but you won't be able to isolate the inner tricep. So this is the only move I've noticed where I can really effectively hit it 100%.
I saw his body is just basically get someone else to, when they're learning it to.
It is pretty tricky to teach. You've got to really force them, because like I was saying before, with him, he's trying to fight his scapula down to get out of that position, he's trying to roll his elbows out. Sometimes you really have to be quite hands-on to teach them, like pull their elbows in and push it right back, put them in a position where they can't use anything else until they get used to using the muscle. Once you get used to it, then you're okay to keep training it on and go from there. But to first learn it, yeah, you don't want to cheat. You want to do everything else you can to try and take the pressure out of that. So it's the weakest part of the tricep in here, and it's the first thing that's going to go on you when you're trying to do a bench.
So the medial?
Inner part of the tricep. Very inner head. Like I said, that. Everyone with their arm out, when you extend, you'll feel it contract straight away. And that's what's going to get stronger, yeah? So when we're doing this, it should burn. Like you were just doing it then.
He's going home after this.
It should be quite unpleasant, yeah? It should feel like a normal skull crusher where you can muscle it out and you get a nice pump and it feels fine. It should feel almost like someone's digging their thumb into your tricep and you're trying to get that squeeze. Same as that bicep curl I showed you. Nordic curls, we call them by gym. Cross thing, the old Viking with an axe.
I feel like we need to get more mirrors
squeeze.
trained.
Maybe get a mirror whacked in so people can check out.
Oh no.
So the bicep brachii there, and in here, the two most important parts of the arm for completing that bench. Yeah, so those are those little movements that you can add into your program that very few people do, except the largest benches in the world. They seem to do a lot of it. So we'll try and be like those guys. And you guys got 5 kilos is good starting. We go 2.5 as well.
No.
Yeah. 2.5 just to get the technique down pat and then build it up. Keep the reps a little higher with this one, because it's got a pretty good fail rate. Try to keep it above 6. Don't do anything too overly heavy, because as soon as you go overly heavy, it's going to be pretty hard to keep it from before you get it cheap. But that's my favourite for getting my lockout ups. Like you were saying with board presses before, I'd rather spend my time doing this than a board press any day of the week. If this comes up and I get stronger on this, I guarantee I'm going to be much stronger at the top end of my bench.
Unless you got a lot of time, you do both, I guess, or something.
Just with the overload, if you're doing the board press too much, like I said, that overload, I'd rather just, with this, it's like it's giving you muscle pain, your muscle burn. I don't have 200 kilos in my hands. I can do it with 40, 50 kilos, it's not going to kill me. And that way, I can do it over a period of time and get strong. Like I said, I didn't used to do it as much as well until I started trying to get my bench up more. I was struggling doing 15, 20 kilos when I first started doing it properly. So I got taught from Alan, one of our trainers went over to Elite FTS from the States, where he learned the technique, locking out his big bench. And when I started doing it, I was weak as hell. And I started building it up over weeks, and that improved faster than my bench would improve no matter what I was doing. Or faster than my board press would improve. Because it was a new muscle. Yeah. Like we talked about before. If you haven't trained as much before, a new muscle area that haven't worked so much, it's going to improve a lot faster than something you've been doing the last few years. So especially if you guys have done it before, start doing this, your bench is going to feel a lot stronger.
That's good.
I'm about happy. Anyone want to drop down any other exercises?
Right now I've got a program that for the beginners, it's tricep pull downs, skull crushers, close grip skull crushers, with the bell sitting inside with the bell.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So that I found it also.
Yeah, that big. So we've got
It's not as much as that, obviously.
Yeah. See this part of the tricep at the end of the head?
Yeah.
That's tricep right here, which
Yeah.
is up under the elbow.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to activate, yeah. That's
Yeah,
going to work
that
when
is.
it goes to overhead.
Yeah.
When we're talking about right in here,
Yeah.
this muscle here,
Yeah.
that's what's pretty hard to isolate. Yeah. You feel it work, but you won't feel it isolate 100%.
I feel it at lockout, but not as much
But
as
not
that.
through the whole range. So when we're doing this, if we get it right, we should be able to feel it from the very top to the very bottom. Yeah. Like the bicep curl I was going to show you all this got. Okay, everyone's done curls, obviously. Everyone loves bodybuilding, so curls. You won't like these guys. So, learning how to keep your bicep tense on. Everyone's still probably done curls, but they have their elbows back here and they curl the weight up and down. You can do that all day. Bring the arms forward, so my biceps under strain. I'm going to pivot my body slightly forward, so arms already taking tension. Curl the weight up, flexing the top, complete contraction, and then back down. This is the best thing to do for biceps for bench press. So I have constant bicep tension. I can't relax the muscle, so I've got to hold the weight the whole time. Which is what we want to do when we're doing heavy barbell bench. We don't want to relax the bicep, then we lose tension out of our tricep. So if you want to give me a set of 20 on that.
Let's go, Nudge.
That's more because of the center of gravity.
Bro science, step up.
Yeah, right. We're trying to keep concentrated.
Dr. Nash.
Oh, that's it. Good. Contract. Here, we're in the front and the bottom. Don't let it relax.
What's the tip on that one? The 2-1, 3-1.
Yeah, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. 2 space. 2 body movement.
So 2 down.
And I want you intentionally try to flex your bicep. You actually try to tense your muscles hard as you can.
This is the quietest Nudge has ever been.
I read it somewhere, bro. Come on. It's concentrating. I think for the rest of the year, all we're doing is think that you can go.
So another thing we'll pay attention to, that was good, you had the right technique, you had the right angle, but obviously just joking around having a chat a little bit. When you train though, you got to make sure you're focused. And here's a bit of fasting.
Yeah, I've got it fast. I've got a meeting 8 hour window, 16 hour fast, but get all the macros in. But in the morning,
Just the off season, you get the metabolic rate.
get them on the metabolic rate, yeah. And then if they need extra,
Been in this too long.
You're making sure they're doing it while they're not having food, make sure they have the BCAAs.
yeah, be some of those.
I think
if they
they
can
heard
afford
it.
it. Yeah, big students.
Training time.
Especially the heavy bodybuilder, he's going to fast use for every season, very health and keeping body ready for that competition season to go down.
Oh, I've got a couple of others.
So yeah, you've got to be careful of muscle tissue weight breakdown. So obviously after every 3 hours, your body will go catabolic, it doesn't have protein in the system. It starts to chew its own muscle fibers. Everyone has a different level of going catabolic, but after 3 hours, rule of thumb is any food your body's digested, any protein you had in your system is now completely exhausted, and your body will now start going to a catabolic state.
It seems that, like for example, Jacob, he was 155 when he started, he's 143. Obviously, uni gains are attributed to the list going up. He went from 450 to a 600 total when he started. And 50 kilo, 13 kilo weight loss in that 3 months. Strength's going up. So, but I mean, the lean tissue.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah, the lean tissue going up.
But good for metabolic rate and protein synthesis is one thing that they're not touching on as much with that diet. Yeah. By doing intermittent fasting, your body learns how to utilize more protein in your diet.
Yeah.
So when you're eating your steak, you're eating your chicken, if you've done a bit of intermittent fasting, you'll actually utilize, say 200 grams of chicken, you have 36 grams of protein, your body might only use 20 grams of that in digestion. Yeah. But as you do more intermittent fasting, your metabolic rate picks up, becomes more effective. You might start to use 30 grams out of that chicken.
I've seen studies saying that there's no, well, the body still absorbs it. There is no limit. Apparently, there's studies at the moment showing that there's no limit to the amount of protein your body can absorb.
There's no limit how much you digest,
Yeah,
but there's only the amount you actually utilize. So the bigger the guy, the more testosterone possibly bioavailable in his system, the more protein synthesis. Intermittent fasting increases testosterone production, growth hormone production from that. So your body cannot produce growth hormone with carbohydrate in your system. I don't know whether you guys know that, but
Yeah.
the whole training on an empty stomach, running carbs, that's where that came from. Train hard to a heavy squat with no carbs in your body's more likely to dump or release the growth hormone. It's obviously very important to recovery and strength gains. So So try and make sure you don't eat carbs before you train, and don't start drinking Gatorade or Targo Laxamase if you're having it until about 30-40 minutes into your session. That's the best way to keep your body working naturally as best you can. But you guys are going to come in and sort of start sculling Gatorade straight away or something like that, which, because you should be yourself that, but you're better off waiting until your body's already under stress, it's already taxed before you take with those carbohydrate drinks. Because you're going to get more growth hormone release, therefore better recovery session, better gains. Try and keep your carbs until well into your workout.
So no carbs.
Minimal carbs. Minimal carbs. Fats give you energy anyway. Fats give you strength and energy before you train anyway. A heavy meal is always better.
Say under 30 grams.
Yeah, keep it. 20 to 30 grams is the threshold. Go over that until it has to spike. Push the glucose into the muscle.
Sweet. Leading into a comp, say you're 5 kilos over. I know I was with you in the sauna for a bit.
10 kilos to lose.
10 kilos, well, week out, I started lowering my calories.
Yeah.
And then the sauna for the last 2.5. What would your preference be if you had, 5 kilos to lose? Like, most of the guys here trained at 3, preferably 3.5 kilos to 2.5 to 3.5 kilos over their competition weight.
Yep. Just losing that last little bit.
Yeah. Which diet or which method would you lose without having to do
way up? And that's one thing I like to talk about too.
Yeah.
You saw me doing the cut-offs into 90.
Yeah.
So the trouble is, I had to make the I was into the hundreds originally.
Yeah.
To cut down in your weight, you've got to be careful too. If you eat a lot of clean food, I know especially for me if I'm training hard, if I was trying to cut to 90 for that comp by eating lots of clean food really consistently, I actually would have made it harder for myself to get my weight. Yeah, you have to more intermittent fasting. You have to be careful not to eat like a bodybuilder. So eating like a bodybuilder typically puts on muscle tissue and holds your weight up. And if you're 92, 93 kilos and you dieted for 3 or 4 weeks to get to that weight, and then you rock up to that scale and you've already been eating pretty clean, low sodium food, low saturated fat food, and then you've got to cut that last 3 kilos, that's going to be freaking hard to do. Because your body already, you've been eating clean for the last 3 weeks, your body's already got all that salt out of the system, it's already got rid of that heavy food, hard carbs, glucose stored in your muscle. You're pretty much already down to that last 2 or 3 liters of water you can sweat out of your body. So you've got to go more for, not eating necessarily the cleanest food, you can still have a little bit of saltier food, heavier carb food, but just eating less of it. Get the weight a little bit closer to it. Drinking plenty of fluids, you've all seen the water load before the...
A couple of guys, they're doing it.
And then finally switch out. So don't go on a full bodybuilding prep diet if you're 94 and trying to cut to 90s like I was. If I was studying fish every 2 hours leading up to that, I wouldn't have made that 90 to 100%.
Which wouldn't... If your macros are there and you're 90, you're eating macros to 90. Say you're 93, you eat your macros, you slow lower down like 200 calories or something. That should, in theory, work, right? But are you trying to say...
Depends on how lean you are. Like we're talking about guys.
Yeah, we're talking about what powerlifters
If you've got enough fat to lose, you can...
So the more leaner you are, the harder it is to...
Well, that's what I'm talking about, yeah. So if you're really cutting to a very hard weight division, so if your body's already, like mine, fighting to be above 90, like if I stopped training at home and day whatever I wanted, I'd be more like 100 on 90. That's the weight that my body's not comfortable being. So if I was to eat frequently clean food, that would make it a lot harder for me to get down to 90. What my body wants to do, my body wants to grow and build muscle tissue, wants to be heavier than that. So you've got to weigh it up with how lean you are.
Well, I generally kind of get the guys who are hopefully bigger guys are a bit harder. They're usually over 20. The guys who are usually 14, 16%.
Body fat, yeah.
Yeah, body fat.
So if they're within 3 or 4 kilos,
yeah.
and if they clean their diet up far enough out, they can lose that 3 or 4 kilos. You've got to weigh up whether they'll lose any strength on top of that.
Yeah, that's
some of the best weight cutters in the States. You probably get rid of these for too long. Jimmy Wellman gets them pretty fast.
Oh well, Dan Green, he dropped like 10 kilos.
Dan Green dropped 10 kilos as well. They actually don't try and get too lean. They actually do a lot more of their weight loss through manipulation of their fluids, manipulation of their body's fluids. That way they get a better strength rebound. If you were to diet for 6 weeks later, you probably lose a bit of strength too. So you just take out a lot of food. Like Dan Green was talking about, he wouldn't have cut back on his nutrition as much. He still wanted to train well, lift heavy. He would have concentrated more on that last week, just getting the fluid out and then back in. So don't try and eat too clean to get your weigh-ins for your competition. Don't eat like especially having done multiple shows myself. When I weigh in for a bodybuilding comp, there's no way I'm ready to lift the next day after dieting for 12 weeks for a show. Yeah, like there's nothing behind this thing stuff. So you don't want to be on a full bodybuilding prep diet leading down to a weight on the scale. Try and manipulate more like you were saying through just a bit of fasting, still keeping your macros up, keeping your strength up, and then getting that fluid out, and then getting that weight back on your performance body.
Yeah, just reaffirming what we've been doing. Yeah.
Just try and get more psychological electrolytes, get your electrolytes back into hydrate, getting your water out. One thing, dandelion root. Anyone got that powder? That's a bit tricky to have. Actually, that green tea I was drinking, I chucked in a couple of pieces of that green tea that I was drinking. So you can buy it from health food stores called dandelion root, and it's so if you don't want to take pharmaceutical diuretics, dandelion root is a natural diuretic. Yeah, that's the strongest natural diuretic you can use other than using natural diuretic to push water out. So you just mix up to 10,000, don't go more than 10,000 grams, but up to 10,000 milligrams you can mix in. I like mixing with the green tea. That's already going to make your body sweat and spike a little bit more by increasing the metabolic growth. Mixed in with that, drink that when you're in the sauna, try and make your weight cut, and it'll make you sweat a whole lot more. So add that in. Sweet. It's in, so you probably seen from the substance, it's in weight strippers, weight loss, weight cutters. They put a little bit on there, there's no point spending $100 buying that, just go to health store and buy the actual ingredients itself. Save you $100.
So great old carton.
Carnitin's good for fat burning. Cut your creatine before a weigh. I mentioned that too. Take your creatine, start volumizing. Make sure there's no creatine in your system.
I had
after 72 hours before you're trying to cut weight. Creatine will make your whole liquid in your muscle. Just cut that out of it.
Yeah, I had the 2 girls here on creatine. It was like 2.5 kilos, 2 kilos they gave.
Yeah.
Creatine. I got asked the question, when should I cut it? I don't try.
To be safe, go 5
Yeah. But the strength would, because of the,
you can whack it back in as soon as you make your weight. You can whack it back in with your with Gatorade, put creatine back in there, with electrolytes, hydrolyte tablets, creatine. Just chuck all that in. One big up to 102 when he lifts, and he doesn't look shredded at all. Yeah, so he's not dieting his way down there. He sits at 102, which is very good. Eating away, doing his normal thing, but then the week before the comp, water loading, cuts down, he's rushing. He's not dieting down. That's why he lifts so well. That's why he's got the biggest all-time record for the 90 kilos.
Need to get a drip.
Get on the drip up the button. He cuts off that 12 kilos of fluid.
Sorry?
All three. Scott?
No, that's got one.
No, this guy's got the all-time record. Just the biggest. No, not Australia. I've got Australia.
Just Norris.
He's got a world record.
The GPC, I'm telling the world record. Total.
All time across all feds.
All time across all feds, the guy called Bellier.
Bellier from, he's in the 90 class. Yeah.
90 kilos.
Just Norris is 90.
Yeah, but Bellier, I've never seen the super
But this guy totaled 839. 317 and a half
yeah, he's
squat,
in the
181 bench, 340 kilos.
Yeah, same with Jesse Norris. He took out all the world records now. He squatted 320, deadlifted 340, and benched 180 at 90.
So it's roughly the same as that. Yeah, gotcha. There you have it.
I think he might have actually taken that earlier.
He might have taken his all-time 90 kilo record.
Because he's on powerlifting watch, Jesse Norris.
Brisbane. Okay, why the break? Probably does the same thing. Maybe he's done 15 kilos off. Let's go back in it.
He's 19 what?
Yeah.
19-year-old. Beat him at 19. That's pretty good.
A lot of featuring.
What's going on in bro?
He's American.
He's American?
Yeah.
We're in the wrong country.
Any questions, guys, before you call that? Any questions?
With that weight cut?
Yeah, it's good. She's in the sauna.
Yeah. And it didn't affect you too much? You felt fine? And you weren't dieting leading up, you just eat pretty much normal? That's what it is. Dieting more than 3 or 4 weeks will make your weight go.